Good morning and welcome to the Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Donna McCartney and I'm honored to be your worship associate today. I'm joined by our minister, Reverend Sian Wiltshire, and Jacob Swetland, the Director of Music Ministries. Yay! And also a round of applause and support for Danielle Lewis, who's unable to be with us today. She's our Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth, and she's ill this morning, so we're wishing her a speedy recovery. Whether you've been here for 30 years or 10 months or 10 minutes, and whether you strolled, rolled, zoomed, or danced in, we are glad you have joined us today. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. We're a community of many different identities and beliefs. We're bound together not by dogmas or creed, but rather a covenant to create a welcoming and loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. So our sermon today is about living up to this covenant and building community and a sense of belonging. In the spirit of building this community, let's recognize the many volunteers who have helped to put this service together today. Thank you. Roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. And Zoomers, morning Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. As we worship today, let's acknowledge that our church property rests on the sacred ancestral homelands of the Hashiman and Tongva peoples who seek justice and responsible stewardship. We begin our worship with the lighting of our chalice. This morning, I'd like to invite So Penzoe to light our chalice. So Penzoe has joined our church in May, and she comes to us from Bend, Oregon. That you there, and she works for a nonprofit named the Cambodian Family. So thank you for volunteering. Yay, So Penzoe. So I think the choir actually volunteered her, so thank you, choir. Okay, as they light the chalice, let's say our unison affirmation together. Love is the spirit of the church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace. Seek truth and love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. Please join us in singing our opening song.
Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing our opening song. This may be unfamiliar, so we're going to have our wonderful collaborative pianist, Carrie, play through the melody once, and then we'll sing after that. So just follow me, and you'll be okay. Here you go.
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn. Embracing enemies, love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
So, listen. Can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It calls us in the silence and through the noise and busyness of our daily lives. It calls us to the brightness of the day and in the darkness of the night, in times of hope and despair. So listen. Can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It doesn't matter what you call it, the Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of compassion, the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of justice. Just listen. Can you hear it? Spirit is calling. It's calling to you and me. It's calling us to greater wholeness, greater connection, greater service, and greater love. It's calling us to heal the brokenness within ourselves and in others and in the world. It's calling us to live through life's pain and sorrow. It's calling us to live more deeply. It's calling us to live courageously and kindly, to speak our truth in love and bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice. It's calling us into community. So listen. Can you hear it? Spirit's calling. Amen.
Somebody's calling my name. Hush. Somebody's calling my name. Hush. Hush. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?
I'm so glad I got my religion in time.
Hallelujah, Lord.
I'm so glad I got my religion in time.
Oh, glory, Lord.
I'm so glad I got my religion in time. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?
What shall I do? Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Soon one morning, death comes creeping in my room. Soon one morning, death comes creeping in my room. Soon one morning, death comes creeping in my room. Oh my Lord, what shall Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Hush, hush, hush.
So I got a story for you in our Time for All Ages this morning. Once upon a time, there was a young girl named Maggie who found that she had a terrible disease and probably would never be well again. She was very, very sad. Although she had many friends, all of them were too afraid to visit her because they feared they might catch the disease, which they couldn't, or they didn't know what to say, which they didn't. So the little girl sat in her bed all by herself and was really lonely. One day she heard a knock on her door. "Come in," she said, and in walked 3 of her friends. One was a doctor, one was a minister, and one was a magician. Maggie was so excited to see them because no one else had been brave enough to visit her. "Hello, Maggie," said her friends as he sat down around her bed. "We came to tell you something. Each of us is going to try to find a cure for your disease." "Yes," said the doctor, "I'm going to go to my laboratory and do experiments until I discover a medicine that will cure your disease." "And I," said the minister, "am going to pray every day that you will be healed of this terrible disease." "And I," said the magician, "I'm going to look through my books of magic until I discover a potion or spell that will rid you of your disease." Maggie smiled and was happy because she saw how much her friends cared for her. "Oh, thanks," she said. "Well, we're sorry we can't stay long to visit," said her friends, "but we must rush off and begin our search for a cure. We'll return in 3 days, and surely by then one of us will have found a cure for your disease." And so her friends went away and did everything they could to find a cure. The doctor worked hard in his laboratory, but couldn't discover any medicine that would help the little girl. The minister prayed every day and every night that Maggie would be healed of her disease, but the little girl was still sick. The magician looked into all of his magic books, and there were no spells or potions that could cure Maggie's disease. And all of her friends, they were very sad, for they felt that they had failed. After about 3 days were over, the doctor, the minister, and the magician returned to Maggie's house and told her the bad news. "We're sorry. We couldn't find a cure. We did our best." And the 3 friends began to cry. "Don't cry," said Maggie. "Before I was sick, I had many friends, but now they're all afraid to visit me. This disease is a terrible one, but it's nothing compared to the loneliness that I've felt the last few days. I now know that loneliness is the worst disease of all. And right now, the medicine I need most is your friendship. The prayer I need most is for you to simply be with me. And the magic I need most is your love." And so the doctor, the minister, and the magician gathered around the little girl, offered her friendship with love, laughter, and listening. And in this way, they found the cure. And that is our story for today. So I'd like to invite Elizabeth Kilshore up here to light the children's chalice as we sing our children out to their religious education classes. She's our stand-in for our director of religious education. Surprise.
Hold you in our love as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go, to nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Our reading this morning is called Self-Compassion. by James Cruz. My friend and I snickered the first time we heard the meditation teacher, a grown man, call himself honey, with a hand placed over his heart to illustrate how we too might be more gentle with ourselves and our runaway minds. Now, it's been years since we sat with legs twisted on cushions, holding back our laughter, but today I found myself crouched on the floor again, not meditating exactly, just agreeing to be still, saying honey to myself. Each time I thought about my husband splayed on the couch with aching joints and fever from a tick bite, what if he never gets better? Or consider the threat of more wildfires or the possible collapse of the Gulf Stream. Or when I remember that in a few minutes I'd have to climb down to the cellar and empty the bucket I placed beneath a leaky pipe that can't be fixed until next week. How long do any of us really have before the body begins to break down and empty its mysteries into the air? Oh, honey, I said, for once without a trace of irony or blush of shame. The touch of my own hand on my chest, like that of a stranger, oddly comforting in spite of the facts. Oh, honey. This morning I'd like to invite Abby McGuire up here. She's going to lead us in a wonderful meditation that she wrote about self-compassion.
As human beings, we are born to love and be loved. It is our deepest desire, our deepest emotional need. It is what it means to be human. In order to love and accept love from others, we must recognize that we are love. Beneath all of the labels we have acquired throughout our life, mother, father, teacher, administrator, community activist, we are love. It is easy to forget this about ourselves when we are busy with our day-to-day life and all that we do for others. Well, what about us? We need love too. Giving ourselves love can be a challenge, as we often judge ourselves way more harshly than we would somebody we love. We accept the ones we love for who they are. I am comfortable helping others and helping others see their own beauty and gifts. I'm not so good at reaching out to others for support or help, or maybe just for an ear when I need it. It is so important for all of us to reach out to others that we trust and ask for help. We absolutely need to learn how to do this, to let ourselves and others love us. We often think of self-care as self-compassion, when in reality, these are very different. Self-care is enjoying a quiet bubble bath, a few minutes meditating in the fresh air, or a massage. Self-compassion is loving yourself, accepting yourself as you are. You are that person that God made you with all your quirks and your personality, your giggles and your laughter, your big body or your small body that was given to you, your thin hair when you really wanted thick hair. This is a difficult task for most of us to embrace. I often find it easier to forgive others. But when it comes to my own transgressions, it is difficult. I have these tapes running over and over in my mind. If only I had done this. If only I could go back. If only I could just do it one more time, I would do it the right way. But how can we support others with compassion in a healthy way if we cannot give ourselves compassion? Unhealthy compassion can come out as pity and do more harm than good. Too often the world gets pity and self-compassion mixed up. So this morning we are going to practice self-compassion in a meditation. Just like the meditation teacher who called himself Honey in our reading. I invite you to get comfortable. Move around in your chair until you feel comfortable. And I invite you to place your hand, one hand or both hands, in the middle of your chest where your heart is, and feel that heart beating. Feel the warmth that comes from your heart. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that, or have a low gaze. Now I invite you to think about one of your gifts. We have many, but one that maybe you feel particularly proud of, or a gift that others have told you often you have. Continue to hold your hands gently on your heart. Breathe naturally. On the in-breath, say "oh." On the out-breath, say "honey." Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Let that joy and that pride you feel for your gift fill you up. Having compassion for yourself is not just about forgiveness, but also recognizing your own beauty and gifts. If you find your mind making up excuses not to do this, or you hear words of ridicule, take a deep breath and come back to "oh, honey." Now think of a mistake you may have made, maybe earlier this morning, a year ago, a week ago. The temper lost, the impatience revealed, the failure to meet a goal, something that you have a hard time forgiving yourself. Keep your hands over your heart and say, "Oh, honey." Give yourself the gift of compassion. If you feel resistance, keep saying it over and over to the resisting feeling or voice until it fades away. I invite you to keep saying the mantra, "Oh, honey." Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Thank you for allowing me to lead you on a journey to self-compassion. Namaste.
Please join the choir in singing "Return Again." Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Oh, honey. Did you know that there's an epidemic of loneliness going on? Oh, honey. You know, scientists had started to notice a downward trend around loneliness for a while. For example, in 2018, 46% of Americans felt sometimes or always alone. Just 1 year later, in 2019, that climbed to 52%. And then the pandemic hit. And here's the thing, even after the pandemic, loneliness is still trending. And in 2020, a follow-up in 2024, Richard Weisbord, a Harvard researcher, wanted to get to the bottom of this loneliness trend. Why were people lonely? What did that mean to them? What does it mean to be lonely? So instead of asking people, do you feel lonely? He asked deeper questions. You might even ask yourself this, particularly if you're someone who feels lonely a fair bit. He asked questions like, do you feel like you reach out more to people than they reach out to you? I have some friends like that. Are there people in your life who ask you about your views on things that are important to you? Has someone taken more than just a few minutes to ask how you are doing in a way that made you feel genuinely cared for? Interestingly enough, 74% of people responded that they had felt chronic or sporadic loneliness in the last month when they did that survey. 74%. Oh, honey, my heart breaks at that. And interestingly enough, it's even higher for young people. So all these trends meant that last year the US Surgeon General declared that in America we have an epidemic of loneliness. And it isn't just us, it's a lot of Western nations. And in fact, Britain and Japan have appointed ministers of loneliness in their government to tackle these issues in their countries. What exactly is loneliness? So Weisbord, he defines it as a compound or multidimensional emotion. It contains elements of sadness and anxiety, fear and heartache. The experience is inherently intensely subjective. We can feel lonely in a crowded room or in our bedroom. The Surgeon General defines it as, it's the distressing experience that results from perceived isolation or unmet need between an individual's preferred and actual experience. I find all these definitions very academic and heady, but however you define it, we all know it, right? That pit in the middle of our stomach, that longing, that wondering. Oh, does anybody even care? That emptiness. It's hard to define, but boy, do we know it when we feel it. And here, interesting, of course, like in the past, of course, loneliness happened for people, but it wasn't so pervasive as it is in this modern age. After all, families lived mostly together in small houses, right, or even shared rooms. Probably getting away was a good thing, being on your own. And we've seen in history, people have studied this loneliness, they said, it does kind of come and go. One of the biggest increases in loneliness actually happened around the rise of industrialization as people moved from the rural areas into cities, right? So we saw a greater indication of people talking about it, but then it drops after that as people found ways to connect in larger cities. So some people think that this epidemic that we have is simply a time of adaptation. We're learning to adapt, right? Because human beings, after all, we just want to belong, right? It's just like love. We humans are wired for connection and belonging. It's part of our survival in a sense, right? Because loneliness actually is harmful. It's physically harmful. It raises our blood pressure and negatively alters our cognitive functions, right? So we don't think very well. It's associated with type 2 diabetes and shortens our lifespan. It's linked to suicide, Alzheimer's, and leukemia, and a greater risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, stroke, depression, and anxiety. The Surgeon General estimates that chronic loneliness is as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Wow. Loneliness is a very real threat to our physical, our mental, and our spiritual health. So here's the challenge. The feeling of loneliness might just be your body and mind's evolutionary way, sort of it's an alarm system that says, wake up. You need more social relationships. It's like, your stomach rumbles to tell you that you're hungry. So if you're lonely, are you listening? Maybe you need to hush. Because maybe Spirit is trying to tell you something. Or just your limbic brain back there telling you. In the past, it was easy to have your needs met. Just walk into another room or even walk down the street because everybody knew you. But in today's modern culture, we live next to strangers, often living alone. There's a huge increase of people living alone. We're mobile and we move to new cities and new countries, so we have to be proactive in our reaching out. And why don't we? Why don't we reach out more? And ironically, it's because we're lonely. It's because it kind of goes like this, okay? Here's the loneliness loop, all right? So we feel lonely, right? Oh, I want someone to share this joy or sorrow that I have, but I'm not sure what to do, right? But because we're lonely, we somehow feel we're fundamentally undesirable to be around. Oh, no one's going to hear this. I don't want to be a burden, right? So then we fear rejection. What if they don't want to talk to me? What if they're not really my friend? So we don't reach out and we feel lonely. And so the loop continues. So how do we stop this loneliness loop? Okay, I'm not just going to leave you hanging. The doctors, including the Surgeon General and all those researchers I mentioned, they all agree that there is a cure, okay? But it's not easy to implement. And if we're adapting, it's going to take all of us learning how to make new types of connections. And I've got 3 tried and true ideas for you today. Okay, so the very first thing that we need for the cure for loneliness, well, we were practicing it today. Self-compassion. Oh, honey, you're not alone. You are loved and lovable. Making connections, it takes courage and effort. And oh, honey, that's hard, but you can do it. When you start that loneliness loop, right? Oh, I feel lonely. Just stop, okay? Self-compassion, right? Put your hand on your heart and say, oh, honey, I am lovable. Oh, honey, I know this is scary. And it breaks that loneliness loop. Because here's the thing, not only are you lovable, but when you reach out, others feel lovable, right? Every time you reach out, you're making someone else feel less lonely. It's like a double cure. You might be breaking them out of their own loneliness loop. Okay, so the second one is, of course, about relationships, reaching out to people. Old friends are making new ones. But here's the thing, that's not just about reaching out to just anybody. It's about deepening relationships, okay? You think about it, it's kind of a little ironic in this day and age that we have so much loneliness, right? After all, we've got all of these ways to communicate, from Facebook and Messenger and TikTok and Instagram and, Zoom, we've got everything. We can talk to people around the world. We can keep in touch with friends and family, never lose track of them. That's awesome. So why in the world do we have an epidemic of loneliness? Because the problem with this connectedness is it lacks depth. And in fact, in that survey that he conducted, he says lack of meaningful connection is cited as the #1 reason people feel lonely. Meaningful connection. Our relationships can be too shallow. Just because you have 500 friends on Facebook does not mean you aren't lonely. You do not have 500 friends, you have 500 acquaintances. So it's not about quantity, it's about quality. You know, many of you know that I'm a gamer, and I used to play these games called MMOs, or massively multiplayer online games, right? So this is where everybody, as I see my fellow geek over there nodding, yeah, excellent. So this is where thousands of people are playing together on a server, and so we're chatting. And back in the day, they didn't have audio or video. You couldn't see anybody. So we're just chatting, right? And I remember the feeling of, oh, we have this joint thing we're trying to do together, and it felt so wonderful and fun and interesting and everything. And then I remember I was in a guild, so it was a group of people who agreed to play together, right? And I remember there was this one woman who was so friendly, and everybody loved her, and she and I would have these wonderful, lovely little chats. And then one day she just disappeared. And all of us were like, what happened to her? What happened? Oh my goodness. We actually finally tracked her down, and it turns out she was like, oh, I just wanted to take a break. And it really occurred to me, like, okay, I would never do that to a friend of mine, a real friend of mine, right? But this is the relationships. They were actually very shallow, and we all had to learn that. A lot of us know that now. All this technology can be great at communicating practical matters, but we can't mistake them for deep quality relationships. And I do want to say the internet is not all bad for relationships. It's not that simple. Did you know that the internet is the one way that people meet their spouse or significant other in this modern age? It is. So, and it's also great for marginalized communities, right? So that they can hook up and feel affirmed and know that they're not alone. I think that's one point. So the internet and social media is a starting point, right, for a relationship. Or maybe just little reminders, right? But don't mistake it for real deep relationships. That takes time, effort, and courage. Now, courage, you might be saying, building a friendship of any relationship takes courage because you have to be open and vulnerable. You have to gently and slowly let that person into your heart, and that takes a lot of courage. You have to have courage to reach out to be vulnerable and to stop that loneliness loop, right? Okay. Here's the thing. Trust, like meaningful connection, has taken a nosedive in our country. We don't trust easily between polarization and scammers and all sorts of other things. Our lack of listening skills, we're very cautious about who we open up to. And some of that's we've been hurt in trying to do that, right? So here's another statistic for you. The decline of trust among Americans since 1972 has gone down. In 1972, it showed that roughly 45% of Americans felt they could reliably trust other Americans. And in 2022, it's gone down to 25%. It's hard to trust, but healthy relationships require vulnerability. Now, here's an interesting statistic on the positive side of things. Among people surveyed about not being lonely, right? So people who were not lonely, 90% of them said that they had 3 or more confidants. 3 or more confidants. How many do you have? And what does it mean to have a meaningful relationship or have a confidant? It's someone who you can be your whole self to, right? They've seen the good, they've seen the bad. Yeah, and they still love you. You know, I was remembering this. I remember this sense of vulnerability when my best friend in seminary, her name was Deb, and Deb was kind of interesting. I met her right away, but she's 15 years younger than I was when I was in seminary. So I was 40 and she was 25. But we had the best conversations. She was a fellow geek. We would talk about Lord of the Rings and all sorts of things, as well as, of course, theology. But one day I noticed that I was sitting chatting with her, And I had been going through a really big challenge in my life that had me just thrown to the ground, and I hadn't told her. And she was telling me about some things in her life, and I realized, oh, I'm afraid to tell her because she's younger than I am, and I think that somehow in my brain, I thought she might not admire me anymore. That as being the older person, that somehow I'm supposed to have my shit together. Which we all know, like, right, that's a laugh, right? I didn't want to lose her admiration, so I took a deep breath and I told her about what was going on with me, my fears of losing her friendship. She's still my very good friend. She was like, that is weird. That moment brought us closer together. We have these silly stories that we don't even sometimes realize that we're telling ourselves. Oh, honey. The ability to share your joys and your pain is the measure of a healthy, deep relationship. So what might be holding you back in your relationships? And the third thing, okay? Third cure is to find a third place if all else fails. And this is often the least scary way to find those confidence, though it still takes some courage. So what's a third place? Well, if you're sitting here or you're on Zoom watching, you're in a third place. So our first place is our home. Our second place is often our work. And the third place is different from those two. So it's a place of community, like a church, YMCA, even a bar. People tell me about going to dog parks. My elder sister, she goes to a dog park every single evening at 5 o'clock and meets with the same people there, right? My sister has a quilt guild, my twin. It's a place like, remember the sitcom Cheers, where everybody knows your name. I met my friend Jewel in a third place in Seattle. It was called the Mountaineers. And it's a nonprofit out of Seattle that schedules hikes and social activities for people. I met her on a hike, and then we ended up going to volleyball and just became really good friends. And I even introduced her to her husband there. I know, I'm very proud of this. I like playing Cupid. It's a place where people have maybe something in common and can talk and get to know one another. Finding a third place is an easier way to meet people. It's often more casual, and there's often unspoken or even spoken understanding that you're welcome. The relationship might not be as deep as a close relationship, but you know that they will be there for you. And the idea of a third place comes from the researcher by the name of Oldenburg. He was a sociologist back in 1989. He posited that we need a place where you feel a sense of belonging that is not your family or work. It's kind of like having your tribe, right? Now, of course, a church is a third place, right? And all third places have certain qualities. So let's see how we do as a church, okay? All right, well, there you go. Whoops, that went a little bit wrong. But anyway, qualities of a third place. First of all, it's level, okay? There's no importance to status. Everybody is welcome. Doesn't matter how wealthy you are, how young you are, how old you are, whatever it is. No importance on status. Conversation is absolutely key. Well, first of all, I think leveling we do pretty well here. People, all types, all beliefs are welcome here, right? Conversation. Well, we have coffee hour after on Sunday, but we have all these ways to connect in different groups, you know, from Stitchwits to sermon discussion groups to all sorts of things and ways that we can connect. There are regulars that you can count on as always being there. Welcome, everybody. We do pretty well on that. And then the other thing is that, of course, she has a sense of belonging, right? A warmth. I hope that you all feel that. People have told me that they do here. It can take a little while to get, that sense of belonging a little bit, but you get there. And then, of course, that you feel rejuvenated upon leaving. Whatever group you're in, or if it's Sunday morning, right, you feel rejuvenated. Now, here's the interesting one. There's no obligation to be there. interesting. No obligation to be there. This, I think, can be a problem in churches at times, particularly for our leaders, right? They often feel a strong sense of obligation, especially presidents, can I tell you? And it's okay to do something in the third place, right? Be an usher, you could do all sorts of things. But when it becomes burdensome, that's when we get into trouble. That's why we always encourage you, if you're going to get into leadership of the church, to not only do something for the church, but do something for yourself, right? Join a small group in the church, a sermon discussion group, the art group, the writing group, anti-racism group, animal ministry, the choir, whatever it is. Find a way to connect that connects for you, that fills you. Because I want every person here to grow and find joy in running of the church, and it should not be a burden. And I'm proud to say that all of the presidents since I've been here 11 years are still coming here, so that's good. I may have come close to losing one, but they're here. All right, so in summary, these are your cures: self-compassion, deepening relationships, finding a third place. I think one of the biggest challenges with curing loneliness, honestly, is that we expect someone else to cure it for us, right? When actually it's a self-cure. This is part of the adaptation that we need to have. And it's not something we always learn how to do. We learn how to meet people mainly by chance, right? If you're lucky enough to go to college, right, it was so easy to make friends because everybody's lonely, right? You go into the dorm room and everybody's there and everybody wants to meet everybody. So we don't really learn the skills that much. Yeah. As UUs, we're trying always to build this beloved community, a place where all are welcome, where everyone belongs. That's the promise, right, of belonging. You're always welcome here, and we always strive for it, never perfectly, but we do try. And with love at the center of our shared values, we keep learning. So this week, if you feel lonely, I want you to put your hand on your heart and say, "Oh, honey," and then pick up the phone and call someone. Meet them for coffee or lunch, or sign up for something at the church. Or reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a long time and deepen that relationship. And maybe you'll cure somebody's loneliness. And you don't have to be a priest, a doctor, or a magician to be a good friend. Sometimes the cure is just to listen and offer a sense of belonging. Because sometimes we all need someone to lean on. Let us sing.
Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing our returning song.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load have to bear that you can't carry. I'm right up the road, I'll share your load. If you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
So some of you may notice I need someone to lean on today. I'm moving a little bit slower than usual. I have a stiff knee that I'm slowly recovering from. Doctor says I'm doing fine, but it's going to take a while. One of these days, my knees will be, supporting me and allowing me to be here with you every Sunday. But I'm so happy to be with you here today. And thanks for bearing with me. Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing one half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. And this month, we're sharing our plate with one of our favorites, Stand Up for Kids, OC. Stand Up for Kids gives our youth a sense of safety, hope, and belonging through relationships. So important, right? Overcoming loneliness. And it helps out by those folks work with the kids to help them overcome loneliness and feel part of the group. So we're very happy to have them be our partner. So from Reverend Sean's message today, we all know the importance of overcoming loneliness and reaching out to others, so we are here for each other. There are multiple ways that you can support the church and this organization. They're up there on the screen. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or you can use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're a roomer, you can also simply use the basket that's going to be coming around here in a minute. And if you are a Zoomer, you can't do that, sorry. So the choice is yours. All the information is on our website, should you need it. And as always, thank you for your generosity.
Over the hills and far away, looking out for a better day. When it seems like there's no escape, take me to my happy place. If I could wish upon a star, I'd wish that I could heal the scars and take away every ounce of pain. So hold my hand if you feel scared. I'll build a house where you feel safe. And if you call my name, then I'll be there. Over the hills and far away, looking out for a better day. When it seems like there's no escape, take me to my happy place. If I could wish upon a star, back to the start, close my eyes and live those days again. Oh, I would walk 1,000 miles to hear you laugh and see you smile. I wish that things would never have to change. Over the hills and far away, looking out for a better day. When it seems like there's no escape, take me to my happy place. In the darkness, leave a light on. Through the storm, I remember what you told us. Keep your head up, standing strong. If you dream and believe, you can find a way back home. Over the hills and far away, looking out for a better day. When it seems like there's no escape, take me to my happy place. Over the hills and far away, looking out for a better day. When it seems like there's no escape, take me to my happy place. Oh, 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 take me to my happy place.
Please join us in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses the many gratitudes for the gifts that we share.
We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
Well, now is that time when we honor the important events and people in our lives. And you're invited, one and all, whether you're a member or friend, visitor, everyone is welcome to participate in this weekly ritual called Joys and Sorrows. I'd like to invite Don Martin up here. He's one of our pastoral care team members. He's going to assist in lighting the candles. I want to point out also that, we have an amazing, wonderful pastoral care team. So if you need a confidant, they're there for you, okay? As am I. But they're wonderful. All right. So perhaps you come here today holding something in your heart, moments from the last days, weeks, or even hours, something that struck you at your core. And if you'd like to honor that profound joy or sorrow, you are invited to do so. If you're a roomer, we're invited to come forward to light a candle. Okay, and if you'd like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it out on a slip of paper, which is being handed to me all day today. You're invited to do that as well. You do not have to, but you're invited to do so. And of course, Zoomers, if you'd like to write your joy or sorrow in the chat. By the way, if you see me looking at my phone during a service, I'm just looking at the chat, okay? I'm not checking how many friends I have on Facebook. So, and once the Zoomers are done lighting channels, I'll read all of the joys and sorrows out loud, and then Don will light a candle for our Zoomers. So, as music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called, and according, of course, always to your own beliefs. Please come forward. All right. There's a couple of things. I'm going to read those that people have already lit candles for here in-house to give people online a chance to write any more if you would like to. All right. So Lori Kay, she lit a candle of joy because today is special because it's Jamie Pendarvis's birthday. So happy birthday, Jamie. A little birdie told me, but they didn't tell me how old, but you know. And Linda and Craig Sperry sent me a chat this morning. They have a joy. They said, we'll be back tomorrow after our cross-country driving trip, visiting family and friends for the last month. She said it would be good to see everyone at the auction on Saturday. Yeah, yay. And Ralph, he had 2 candles. He said, my daughter-in-law celebrates a birthday. And then he also sent me one that he's joyfully celebrates the 60th birthday of his son, Matt. Our 94-year-old has a 60-year-old son. I love it. That's awesome. And Simone B., she said, she lit a candle of hope and love. She said, my family, those from Oregon with the 3 kids, are in Hawaii, and my grandson in England will be Harry Potter. Good deal, okay. He's in England, yeah. And Mifanwi, she had a joy. She said, the senior center at Central Park invited me to read my poems at the Poets Lounge open mic night. Congratulations. And Dave C., the proud father of another UU minister, he said a visit to Wisconsin to see his son and grandson and celebrate Grandparents' Day at Prairie School. Oh yeah, and attended the Sunday service at Eric's church, Bradford Community UU. He is a proud papa. And Marie G., she lit a candle of joy for celebrating 10 years yesterday with my transplanted organs. Congratulations. And Kristen M., she lit a candle of joy. She said, my nephew Danny M. was sworn in on October 9th to the Massachusetts State Police. She said, we are so proud and pray for his safety, and I swear he's one of the good ones. And there are lots of good ones out there. Yeah, fortunately, the ones that aren't good, they get the press. But anyway, Joel I., he lit a candle of joy. You can guess it's probably about his son Chance, and you would be right. Let's see, so Chance, whose band at Savannah High School in Anaheim won the All Sweepstakes Music Award at yesterday's regional music tournament. Of course. Because Chance is amazing, right? He's gonna be going places, all right. And Melanie M., speaking of more music, she lit a candle of joy because her kiddo, Nav, has their first gig tomorrow night in LA. She said it's a joy that they are connecting with old friends and making music. Right on. All right. So we got a bunch here that Anonymous wrote. She said, well, I know it was a she, but anyway, keep Danielle in your thoughts. That's our director of religious education. She tested positive for COVID this morning. And Rachel, also for Rachel L., her husband, Matt, is in Santa Barbara taking care of his mother, who's rapidly deteriorating from Parkinson's. And third, she says, at the request of Jazzy, please wish Jamie a happy birthday. She told me how old. But I'm not going to say it out loud. All right. And Elizabeth K., she has a mixed candle. She lit one. She said, I would like to thank my loving parents for inheriting a genetic disposition for depression. She said, I had a major depressive episode seemingly out of the blue this week. After a phone call and med check, I'm on the mend to be my awesome self once again. Yay. And Aaron N., he lit a candle of concern because his dear friend Jerry S., who's very ill and is in the ICU, he has advanced Parkinson's disease. Says, I hope he can get better and be back home with his family. Yeah. And I also want to say that Laura B. asked me to have a candle lit for her. She said, a dear friend and godfather to her daughter, his name was Bob, has taken his own life. So to please keep Bob and his family, and of course Laura and her family, in your heart. Okay, for those online. So Linda C. said, please light a candle of joy for our amazing friendship and time with David and Tanya. Oh, honey. She wrote that. Let's see here. And Lee Marie, Reverend Lee Marie, she would like you to light a candle of joy. She said, I want to second and third and so on how wonderful our pastoral care associates and Reverend Sean, who have made me feel the love and care of Orange Coast. Thank you, Lee Marie. And Kathy L. said, very grateful that my daughter Stacy and her family have made the transition back to San Diego from Massachusetts. She is so happy to be back in California. Awesome. All right, I think I got everybody. Okay, let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, whether they were spoken out loud or remain silent in our hearts. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect with one another. Let all these moments remind us that we're not alone. I invite you to join Dawn in a spirit of prayer.
I'd like to inform you that Reverend Sean mentioned me earlier. I am a former president, and I'm still here. I invite you to join me in a spirit of prayer, and if you feel comfortable, place your hands on your heart. Oh, honey, help us all to know that we're loved and lovable. Help us all to have the courage to deepen our relationships. Help us to know that we're welcome here. Oh, honey, may you help us reach out to our communities so that all people feel that sense of belonging that we all need. Help us to be the beloved community we strive to be. Honey, thank you. Blessed and amen.
So let's us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So thank you all for joining us today. If you're a guest or a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. If you'd like to know more about our church, we invite you to either stop by the welcome table in the courtyard, that's out that way, or for more information, or you can also, hang on a second, go to helloocuc.org to get more information about us. So we join together with us and we will help you get connected. Zoomers, you are welcome to stay after and chat with one another online. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so let's reach out to each other and support each other. That's why we're here.
And isn't Donna such a trooper for being here and not being helpful? All right, so look at all these different ways to connect. It's like amazing. We've got our LGBTQ action group that's meeting today, led by our new birthday girl. Let's see here. And so, of course, we've got the auction. If you haven't bought your ticket to it, it's a lunch ticket. And if you don't have the money for it, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just come.
There's this. Oh, I want that. Yeah, I have a pile of 20 out there, and we're printing more.
Okay, so the auction catalog is out. We've got 20 out there for people, and I'm sure it'll be online and put in the blast as well. So Zoomers, don't worry, you're not missing out yet. But hopefully it'll be up there really soon so that we can all look and get excited. So I've got World Religions class on Sikhism, also known as Sikhi, which I thought was sort of interesting. That's on at 7 o'clock. That's actually, that's how they refer to themselves, as Sikhi. And then Artists Unite, that sort of thing. So next Sunday, there's so much going on next Wednesday, so I feel, I apologize to the women's circle sometimes. This conflicts with them, but we've got our Climate Justice Revival Organizing Part 2, so if you were here for our organizing hour afterwards, we're just gonna meet in here, we're gonna brainstorm some ideas about where we're going forward. We're gonna give you the tally results that we had on voting, all that sort of thing. It should be a really fun time. We're not going to take a long time, hopefully just like a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, something like that. And then of course also, if you would like to meet me, the minister, I'm going to be in my office for a bit, and then I'll come to the Climate Justice Revival. Catherine Martin will be leading things, and then I'll join up with that. But if you want to meet the minister, this is a great time if you have any questions about Unitarian Universalism, about this church, life, the universe, everything. You know, it's 42, right? No, the meaning of life. So feel free to come and just chat with me. It'll be a nice informal chat. Melanie, who is one of our co-chairs for our membership committee, will be there with me. So we look forward to seeing you if you'd like to do that. So, all right, everybody, okay. Oh, honey, this church is here for you. We love you. Let us sing our closing benediction.
Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with indifference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy.
This service is over. Let our service continue.